Now, let's go back to Norah O'Donnell. She's in Washington this morning, reporting from the Jones Day law firm. She's been speaking with top business leaders about the Republican tax reform effort. Norah, good morning to you again.
Hey, good morning to you, Gayle. We learned that Republican lawmakers this morning appear to be on the verge of unveiling a tax reform plan. Now, the details are still under wraps, but yesterday we spoke here in Washington to two of the country's most high-profile chief executives, Jamie Dimon of JPMorgan Chase and IBM's Ginni Rometty. We talked about tax reform and how the government, they say, can help accelerate economic growth. Jamie, what's the single most important thing Congress can do to jumpstart the economy?
The single most important thing, bar none right now, is tax reform. But it's important the American public know it's important because business vibrancy is what creates jobs and wages.
But are we going to get tax reform, or is it just going to be tax cuts?
Well, we certainly hope.
We are going to give everything we can to get real reform, because modest tax cuts won't make the difference. We need tax reform, lower rates, simpler system, both for individuals and for corporations to have a more competitive system. We've driven $3 trillion overseas now. That's being reinvested overseas because people can do a better job for the shareholder if it's reinvested overseas.
Because the corporate tax rate is too high.
The corporate tax rate, and it's also a huge advantage for foreign companies to buy American companies.
The big picture for everyone is us being competitive means the economy grows and more jobs.
What would happen if you cut the corporate tax rate, which is about 35% now, to, let's say, 20%? What would happen? What would the effect be?
It's going to cause economic growth and jobs. You know, as any company, you think about, just all of us, when you do your own budget at home, you plan your budget on your after-tax dollar. You decide what kind of house I can buy, what am I going to do on a vacation. You do all that with your after-tax money. Same is true with a business.
The president seems to be signaling now that he would rescind his promise to cut that very top individual tax rate, which is at now 39.6%. He would leave it at that amount for the wealthiest Americans. Would you support that?
Look, I don't have a real issue about any of that.
We're fine. We want them to do what's right for the country. And so we're looking at what's broadly good for the country, not what's good for our own personal pockets.
That July earnings call, Jamie, where you said it's almost an embarrassment being an American citizen.
Yeah, well, let me correct that. I'm very proud of being an American citizen, but we have a bunch of problems, which is why we're growing slowly and we have these problems. And it's infrastructure, tax, trade. And the reason to do those things is to drive jobs and wages. The embarrassment was all about that I had read that it takes 10 years, I think this is accurate, to get permits to build one bridge today. Okay, it took 17 years to build the Freedom Tower. It took 18 months to build the Empire State Building. That isn't, you know, we were the can-do nation to get stuff done. And we've lost it. I just want to get it back.
I just was on the Cuomo Bridge with the governor on the new bridge, which is fantastic, and it's taken half a century to build that bridge.
Exactly.
So just think what we could do then if you remove some of these, quote, roadblocks, right? What you would unleash here, and that's really what this is about.
Let me ask you about Microsoft. I know you've been lobbying and talking to senators about DACA. Microsoft's president said that DACA is more important than tax reform. What needs to be done on that issue?
DACA is an important topic. I don't think there's any disagreement. The importance of the dreamers, the kids that are brought here, they were brought here by their parents. They're productive employees in our companies. I have over 30 in IBM, and I think it is a priority to get that settled, how they can legally be here.
I totally agree. It's a moral thing. You know, I don't think it has a big economic effect in taxes, but it's hard to take, 800,000 kids and not say they deserve the right to stay and have an opportunity here when they're brought in that way. So morally, we
no fault of their own.
We put it very high up in the as important. And almost every company we know made a very strong statement supporting DACA.
Jamie, you've already got a busy day job, but you've been spending a lot of time in Washington. How many trips have you made this year?
I think this is number 21 or 22, but I'm still doing my job for my shareholder.
And why is it so critical to spend so much time here? You've seen the word shadow president, Jamie Dimon, the shadow president, but...
I would vote for them. No, I'm kidding.
I thought she was my friend. Ginni for president.
Here's the ticket here. Here's the ticket. Why is it so important for you to spend so much time
So we all spend time because this is so important now.
There's one more layer down I would add on to this, in that, how do you make change really happen? You have to engage. So the right word to me is engagement. It isn't about just, writing a statement and putting it in a newspaper. That isn't how you get change. This is democracy. There are people with different voices. And so I think that's really what our job is, to help for the policies that are really important, to come and help engage to get that to change and have people, make change in this country.
That's why she should be president.
So clearly they get along well. But what's interesting is that both of them are optimistic that tax reform could get done by the end of this year. The question is whether Republicans can get it done. And I think the interesting thing is President Trump is now reaching out to Democrats on the very issue, hoping that there could be some bipartisan agreement. I think that's why we saw President Trump talking about making sure that this isn't a tax cut for the wealthiest Americans.
It's probably good news for the president, since he very much wants a legislative victory before the end of the year.
It was interesting to hear them weigh in on DACA as well. Great stuff in that interview, Nora.
And Nora, you're going to start the presidential rumors again with Jamie Dimon.
I think they were
Rometty.
I think it was just a little bit of a love fest. I don't think either of them is considering any political future.
Yeah, but you know that.
Yet.
Yeah. That doesn't stop a rumor.
Yeah.
Jamie or Ginni Rometty. Thank you very much, Nora. We'll see you at the table again tomorrow.